Greg, weights announced today for the 151st running of the Emirates Melbourne Cup. You've got a job that obviously is going to cop a bit of criticism from time to time. How's it been for you?
Well, it's always a privilege to release the weights for the Emirates Melbourne Cup. This is my seventh time at doing it. I think what I've tried to do over that tenure is to explain the process to connections and to people in the industry. I think what you need to do is weigh up different form lines, make a decision, and then what you have to do is be able to justify that decision. Now, it is subjective, there is no right or wrong answer, and I hope that once connections of horses have heard that explanation, they are a little bit more comfortable with it. It's always the way in the Melbourne Cup that the horses at the top of the weights would like to get a little bit less, and the horses down the bottom of the weights would like to get a bit more, because it's very difficult to get a run in the Cup. So when you're down the bottom of the weights, every half kilo can assist.
Well, topping the weight scale this year is last year's winner, Emirates. How do you make his form coming into the race?
Well, I think you've got to acknowledge that the 150th renewal last year was probably the strongest Cup we have seen in a number of years. He was rated the second highest stayer in the world last year, behind So You Think. He's got 58 kilos, which is a rise of 3.5 on his winning weight last year. Only Think Big and Makybe Diva have won with that weight since 1972, and 35 others have tried. So it is a challenge, but so it should be, to try and etch your name in the history of a dual winner of the Melbourne Cup.
The internationals seem very prominent at the top of the weight scales, including Jukebox Jury and Dangerous Midge, Cavalryman.
Well, they are. Certainly Dangerous Midge won last year's Breeders' Cup and he's got 57.5. Jukebox Jury in terrific form. He won the race in France, the Prix de Courgelette, and we saw him dead heat for first in the Irish St Leger. So the horses at the top of the weights are European horses, but I make the point again that the first 30 horses in the order of entry at the moment into the race, 8 are international, 22 are local horses. So there are still a lot of very live chances amongst the Australian trained horses. The internationals, there's been 82 compete in the race, only 4 have won. Vintage Crop in 93, and then we've seen Media Puzzle 2002, Delta Blues 2006 and American last year. So they're always prominent, they always run very well, but they don't always win. And I still think there's a great opportunity for an Australian trained horse to live that great dream of having a runner and winning the Emirates Melbourne Cup.
It gets a little bit tricky down the bottom of the weight scale with some of the key contenders still to pass the ballot.
It does. The horse that really is at the forefront of everyone's mind at the moment is December Draw. He faces a challenge, firstly to get into the Caulfield Cup, to win that and then get into the Melbourne Cup. His challenge starts this week at Caulfield in the Naturalism. If he wins that race, he gets automatic entry into the Caulfield Cup. But he's not the only one. King's Rose, who's been so impressive in her 2 wins here in Australia. Lights of Heaven, who won the Australasian Oaks and is very prominent in betting markets. They also aren't past the ballot for the Emirates Melbourne Cup. So a lot of focus on December Draw, but there's a lot of other horses in a similar position.